Do you have enough light in your life? Are you soaring in the joy around you? Are you stuck and unable to make life happen? Stay tuned for the Rabbi Jenny Show, where you will learn how to bask in the light and find more joy and meaning in life. Call to talk to Rabbi Jenny at 888-565-1470 and email questions and comments at rabbijenny.com. And now, if you're ready, stay tuned for the Rabbi who will light your world on fire, Rabbi Jenny.
Hey, happy Wednesday. It's Rabbi Jenny. I am so thrilled to be here. I missed you last week due to some really scary weather, and I'm really happy to talk to you, teach you, and bring these new topics to you today on oneness and wholeness and helping you reveal the fact that you truly are a galaxy, that you really do contain the universe within you, and it is reflected without you. Just a couple of things, a couple of reminders. Please check the show out live on rabbijenny.tv. You can also friend me on Facebook, like my Rabbi Jenny Skylark page, and Twitter, the Instagram. I'm on there, Jenny Rabbi or Rabbi Jenny. Check it out. Not really sure which is which. And we're going to go on to our two main ideas. Our two main ideas in the Rabbi Jenny Show, if you're new, are very important. And if you're not new, I want you to reincorporate them as you listen to my voice, because these two ideas can radically shift your life along with the other things that we teach on the show. And they can help you live more comfortably in the world, knowing that you are part of it, which is essentially most suffering happens when we don't remember that, when we're trying to fight against the fact that we really are a part of the universe, which means that we mimic it. The things that are happening on the outside affect us on the inside. That's just the way this thing works. Okay, so the first one is this. The world is happening for you and not to you. That's 100% of the time. It is happening for you because it's happening so you expand and become a greater expression of love and light for the rest of the world to see. And it's happening for you and not to you because you are divine love, light, source energy, and you are always expanding and always growing and always becoming more of who you came here to be. So there may be times in your life that you feel are difficult or cause you suffering or pain, but I guarantee you if you look at that time from a perspective, hindsight is 20/20. That's what they say. But if you look back, you can see the gifts, and it's really important to get a spiritual counselor or a chaplain or somebody you trust to help you find those gifts. Because we spend too much time, people. We spend long enough looking at the things that happened to us. We spend long enough looking at the things that people took, and we need to look at what things have been given to us, what gifts have been given, and how we have expanded as human beings, becoming more compassionate, becoming more aware, becoming more educated and open to the truth of this world, and that is what we're here to do, is shine love and light. At least that's the Rabbi Jenny idea, and if you're tuning in, that's yours. So our topic today is you are a galaxy, and I have to tell you, listeners, that when I finished seminary with my Rabbi up in New York, one of the things that intuitively I used to say with my clients when I was a chaplain is you are a galaxy, that you contain the universe within you. And I started to actually see people like this. And when you study Jewish mysticism and you study certain aspects of Jewish mysticism that actually mimic the stars, there is this idea of what is in the one is in the whole. That I am, that is such a consistent and delicious and essential part of Torah that is not emphasized enough. I think that we sometimes in religion we look at things in a very pragmatic and we rote and routine, and we don't see the actual spiritual truths that are evident throughout Torah and other scriptures. And it's important for us to sort of extract those and celebrate them and start to reinvent our faiths and reinvent our sacred texts so we can actually grasp them and hold them and love them as sources of peace, sources of grounding, sources of connection and identity in a new way, which is very, very important for us to evolve, because traditional religion and traditional ways is not fulfilling the needs. It's not answering the questions. It's not answering the answers that scientists have actually provided that are not reflected in the traditional interpretations of these very, very high truths. So this particular part of Torah where we are this week is such a well-known part, and it is such a, if you were going to ask a rabbi or you were going to ask someone what's their favorite part of Torah, or what is the most essential line in Torah? Well, it's in this week's portion. We're in Leviticus. We're talking about the law, where there's a lot of rules that come down at this time, and it's quite phenomenal. I mean, maybe not to you as much to me, and maybe it is when you start to think about it in this way, because I want you to. I want you to understand the compassion, the abilities that you have as a human being, that you actually have these truths inside you, and that it is really, really amazing that these things were revealed at this time, that these ideas, and the idea is this: you will love thy neighbor as thyself. I've spoken on it on a previous show, but this is the section where it really comes down. We're in Kedoshim, we're in the holiest of holy, and we are talking about these things, this real clear message that we've gotten in Torah before. Because we've gotten this message that we are the same. I am that I am. What is out there is in me. I have the power. And all great teachers, all great teachers made this revelation. Not any different. It just came down at a different time and was used in a different way. When the Buddha became enlightened, he became connected to the reality of his wholeness, of his connection, and then he got the concept of detachment, that we shouldn't attach, because we really have it all. There's no need. And then you have Jesus, who understood that he was the whole, and he could literally channel healing energy with this knowledge. And then you have Moses, who actually is responsible for sitting in quiet and helping translate these laws at the time. The Moshe in our faith was able to recognize I am that I am. And in doing so, brought about huge change, freed an entire people by making that recognition of oneness. And that's what we're talking about. When I say you are a galaxy, you are one with everything. And it is important for you to remember that, because your humanity is part of that. Who you are is part of that. And in Torah, there's love thy neighbor as thyself. What, are you kidding me? In a society where we're so hell-bent on superiority and being the best at stuff and being different and being everything, to have this in writing, you will love your neighbor as yourself. That's just crazy talk. That's wild if you think about it. It can blow your mind that they wrote this down this time. The other thing that I love from this, there's a couple of things that I really, really love from this this portion that reflect this idea that we are one, that we are equal. We may do different things, but in the end, we all reflect the same laws. We all reflect the same configuration, which we'll talk about. But there's this idea that when you plant your seeds, when you plant your harvest, or when you harvest your land, okay, I'm getting tongue-tied. I'm so excited to be talking to you today because I adore you. But when you reap your harvest, okay, this is so evolved. Like when you think of the time period where this was written and that they actually took the time to think about this, okay? When you reap your harvest, you do not completely reap it, okay? You do not go over the vineyard a second time. You leave it, and you do not pick up anything that's fallen, because you leave it for the poor and the foreigner. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We are in a capitalist society. This does not happen. Okay? We're not living. This is a completely evolved look at life, that we are connected. When you drink the water from the spring, it's the water we all have on the planet, my friends. We share that water. It doesn't matter if you have more money, you have more this, you have the right house. We are all part of that. And this portion of Torah recognizes it. And to me, it gives me comfort. And that's what the topic today is about, that when you connect to the universality, when you connect to the laws, when you understand that you really are connected to the whole, you can find comfort in that and flow with it and roll with it. I wanted to read a quote by Black Elk. I'm kind of jumping out of Torah for a second. I wanted to read you about, oh my God, this is so great. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great, but judge your neighbor fairly. It's not talking about the crime in this portion. It's not talking about what you did, you do to him. This isn't eye for an eye. This is saying your perspective must be fair. What people have, how people think, how people are shaped, how much money they have, you are not to look at them differently when you look at what they do or how they are. And that makes a comment on our character and on our essential nature as part of the divine, part of the energy that holds it all together. But this is the quote. Let me see if I can find it. The desk is a mess today, guys. There was a lot that went into this program, and it's going to be a little all over the place. But let me just tell you, this is from Black Elk, from the Lakota tribe, Chief Black Elk, who had a famous vision of oneness. And this is what he calls the first piece. And I want you to take this in, listeners, and I want you to take it in, especially this week. Because things may be rocking and rolling inside you, around you, and everything. And I want you to find comfort in the first piece. And the first piece, which is most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and the center is really everywhere. It is really within us. And it is really within you. And that I know for sure. I know it for sure. From the bottom, deepest depths of my soul, I know this for sure. Now, let me just tell you, I said for sure, not Black Elk, because that's how I feel. And I think that when you have that knowledge or that knowing or that sense, it's important to let people know that, because sometimes we need permission to believe and feel these things that we're so distant from because of technology and fear and all the things going on and the election and money and the water. And there's so much stuff going on. But I give you permission to connect with the oneness of who you are. We're going to talk today about you being a galaxy, and we're going to talk a little bit about astrology. Our guest is a very wonderful astrologer, teacher, friend, mentor, I don't even know, guide of mine. And I became interested in this idea that people were galaxies and astrology, and this idea of oneness and wholeness. When I learned and studied the Jewish tree of life and Jewish mysticism, you find that there are 10 sacred centers. And we've all heard of, many of us have heard of the chakras. They're a big, Oprah, they're a big part of, public, the collective unconscious right now. But the idea of the seven, but with, the seven is like within your body is how I explain it. But then you have this kind of vessel that you travel in, like a geometrical vessel, I call it the chariot that they talk about, but it's kind of like a cage, I want to say, or a car, and you're kind of driving around it. And that car has, 10 sacred centers, and they're called wheels, which is no coincidence that you're traveling in it, and those sacred centers are called wheels. And each wheel has a different quality connected with it. And we'll talk about those qualities throughout the show, but it, just to get that image of that there's 10. Okay, there's 10 people, and there's 10. And there's 9 planets in one sun, which equals 10. That's not really a coincidence, because what is in the one ourselves is in the whole. We have the planets within us, and they, when we flow with them, they make our life better. We're going to talk about that when we get back. You are a galaxy. This is Rabbi Jenny. I'll talk to you in a few. It's Rabbi Jenny from The Rabbi Jenny Show. Are you planning a wedding, baby naming, or bar bat mitzvah? Have you recently adopted a pet, bought a new home, or opened a new business? Do you have an important anniversary coming up and would like to renew your vows? Have you recently lost a loved one and need some compassion and care through this process? These are some of the many life events that touch our lives. It is at these moments that we need a special person for guidance and compassion and care to officiate and guide us through those moments. Call me, Rabbi Jenny, at 561-346-8207 to guide you and officiate these life events. 561-346-8207. Rabbi Jenny, for personal compassion and care and loving guidance for the important events of your life. The presidential candidates are talking about it. The talk show hosts are talking about it. It's all over the news. Maybe it's time you should start talking about it. Maybe it's time for you to get help. If you or someone you love is suffering from a heroin addiction, Epiphany Resources has the solution for you. Heroin addiction manifests in an apathy and a disinterest in life. At Epiphany Resources, Rabbi Jenny and her acclaimed clinical team reignite and empower their clients to embrace life for a bright future in recovery. With groundbreaking creative and spiritual modalities combined with narrative reframing and cognitive behavioral therapy, the team at Epiphany Resources neutralize the cravings for heroin and reawaken one's desire for joy and life. It's time to talk about it. It's time to heal. It's time to recover from heroin addiction. Contact Epiphany Resources at www.etcfl.com or call 561-777-0241. Epiphany Resources. It's time to begin. The after-school hours between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. are when millions of children go home alone or are without adult supervision. Statistics have shown that during this time, gang involvement, teenage pregnancy, and drug use begins. For the past 15 years, For the Children, Inc., a place where children come first, has been a pioneer in providing quality after-school programming for underprivileged youth aged 5 to 18 in Palm Beach County. Our children are our future. To ensure their success, they must have equal access to quality educational, personal growth, and leadership tools. For the Children, Inc. provides them all. Donate now to For the Children, Inc. at www.forthechildrenfirst.org.
This public service announcement for the Children, Inc. was brought to you by the law offices of Manjula Caladini, Esquire, concentrating in immigration law. www.immigrationassociates.net. You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hi, welcome back. It's Rabbi Jenny. We're talking about being galaxies. We're talking about the planets and Jewish mysticism and all sorts of fun stuff. And remembering that you truly are part of the whole, which should give you comfort in knowing that. And it's very hard to remember that, I think, because we spend so much time moving that we don't stop to connect to the oneness, connect to nature, connect to the sky, connect to others that we love, and connect to our heart space and what's inside of us. So it is time to now introduce our bad Mama Jamma. Rabbi Jenny. Bad. Mama Jamma. Bad Mama Jamma. So today on our show, our bad Mama Jamma is the astrologer and teacher, Ginny Stern. And let me just tell you a little bit about Ginny before she's talking with us. Ginny has been a professional astrologer and teacher since 1981. She's a teacher of metaphysics, psychic development, stress management, healing, and holistic living. She continues to be a seeker of the truth and studies mystical studies. The coolest thing that I just learned about Ginny today, because I've known her for a while, is that she spent 6 years in New Mexico teaching outside of the Apache Indian Reservation. So that's kind of cool. Hi, Ginny. Are you with us?
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
How are you? No, I just spilled my coffee. That's why I wasn't.
Are you okay now?
What?
Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited. I think we're going to do like a one-on-one class with the listeners. I think that would be helpful. What is astrology, for those who don't know what it is?
Well, it's the relationship between the planets in the sky and those of us here on Earth. It's how each planet has an energy, and that energy, I like to put it this way. It's based on not just the sun sign, which is, are you a Taurus, are you a Scorpio? It's based on the exact time of birth and the exact longitude and latitude where you were born.
Wow.
So, and that brings other dimensions into it other than just the planets that we know. So, so the way I like to look at it is the instant an infant inhales its first breath, it inhales the energies of the universe. So it's just if all the planets stood still for that second, and that infant inhales all these energies. So each planet has an energy, and how they relate to one another. It tells you what the plot of the play, so to speak, is. It's like the planets would be the actors in a play. The signs that the planets are in are the roles that the actors play. The houses, which are the sectors, the parts of the horoscope, 12 sectors, those are all the set, what you would call the set, because that's where the action would take place.
It's it's funny.
And then the plot of the play is how the planets relate. Go ahead.
No, I was, it's amazing because, I've never, really gotten into this. I have a sister who's always talking about astrology, and it wasn't until I met you, Jenny, and you really put it so clearly, and almost scientifically, because what most people don't know about me is you got to kind of prove it to me for me to believe it. How did you get into astrology? How did this happen for you?
Well, I was in a corporate job. I was in a salesman on the road for a pharmaceutical company, actually, and it was in the 70s. And there were very few women in the industry, and I got a boss who was prejudiced against everything and everybody, including Jewish women, So I was getting, and I had 2 kids to take care of, to support. So I was kind of getting stressed out, and I was talking to my sister, and she said to me, why don't you take a course in something totally unrelated to your work? So I'm browsing around. So astrology, I've always been interested in that, and that's what I did. So 10 courses later, and 2 years later, I became certified to be an astrologer.
Wow.
So, which is not necessary, by the way. Astrology doesn't mandate that, but we do have examinations and things like that. We have education committee, which I was on for a while in New Jersey. And so that's how it evolved. And, I love it. I mean, it helped me. I couldn't have raised my kids without it.
Well, it's interesting because for the listeners, it's important, you have to think out of the box. I think this is a time of thinking out of the box anyways. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. You definitely do. And, it connects everything, really. As far as that's concerned, it really does. So what happens is you come in at a certain time with certain issues that you have to deal with, whatever it is. Whether, for instance, in your work, it would be addiction. So that's very obvious in an astrology. You can kind of see, not that a person is addicted, but you can see that there is a proclivity for that. There is a possibility this person could be addicted because that's the way it shows in the chart. However, we all get to choose how we use the energies, and that's how everyone evolves.
I
so
think
we get on our path, whatever that turns out to be, and that's kind of how it works. Now, astrology, the reason all Tauruses are not alike is because of the time of birth, and that changes things, everything like that. But each of the planets have different energies. The moon, for instance, has to do with your feelings, your emotional reactions, your family, your home, things of that nature. Whereas the sun, which is the Taurus, if we're talking sun sign, would be your life force. It can be your physical body. It's your ego. It's the most important planet in the chart, actually. And then each of the other planets. Mercury has to do with communications. Venus has to do with love. This is just very simplistic.
No, and it's important, and I want the listeners to know there's a quote that I found by Hippocrates, and he says, a physician without a knowledge of astrology has no right to call himself a physician. And I say that because it's interesting in these times when you have a science that's been perfected over time that can help you in your life, that this is to encourage people to look into it from a state, it's not hokey. For myself, I was surprised when I met Ginny, and Ginny, I'm sure you remember the first time I met you, that I had made certain decisions in my life, and Ginny was able to point to my chart why I was able to make those decisions. And there's a comfort to that the energies of these planets are actually supporting you. They're not here to hurt you. They're actually here to support you if you listen, correct?
That's correct. It isn't even listening. Most people do just fine without having any knowledge of astrology. But like you said, it is comforting. Usually, people, it just kind of gets them to feel like they were on their path, in the right way. I mean, occasionally people don't go the right direction, but there is no right or wrong. Life is life.
Right.
And you take
That's true. That's true. What is there anything going on up there that the listeners would want to know about? Is there anything, there's some retrogrades. What is a retrograde? I think that it's this idea that Mercury's in retrograde, Mars is in retrograde. What is a retrograde when you hear somebody talking about that? What does that mean?
That means from our vantage point here on Earth, if we were to get a telescope or something, it would look as if the planet was going backwards. It doesn't actually go backwards, of course, but it appears to be that way because of how we see it. Now, each of the planets has an energy. So we said Mercury has to do with communication, also transportation, things like that. So when Mercury is retrograde, those things go awry somewhat. And people have a 2:00 appointment, they don't show up till 3, or that's a minor way of looking at it. We advise people not to sign contracts during a retrograde. It's retrograde right now, by the way. In fact, a lot of the planets are retrograde right now. The outer planets, which are Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter, they go retrograde almost every single year. And Mercury goes retrograde for 3 weeks, 3 times a year. So that's when it's a good time to redo things, rewrite things, readdress things. If you can do that, then you have a fairly good experience of it. Of course, you have to deal with other people's experiences of it also.
When is Mercury coming out of retrograde? When does it come out?
You're supposed to come to you for an appointment and they hit traffic. That's a retrograde thing, too. I just had a client this morning, and she told me that they were going to St. Martin, and they were on the tarmac for 4 hours.
Wow.
And it was just recently, during the retrograde. So, that does happen. And because of the transportation, I don't think I would buy a car during the retrograde. But the thing is, don't stop life because of these things.
Right.
You just try and incorporate them into your life so that they're working for you and you're not banging your head against the wall, working against them.
When does it come out of retrograde?
Well, everyone is different.
No.
Mercury just is 3 weeks, so it'll come out on the 22nd.
Oh, well, that's
good. You want
to
give it a few days on either way. The other planets, I forgot exactly when. I have to look. They're all, it's not as important with the outer planets since they do go that way every year. If that was really important, nobody would have a thriving business or anything like that. So, that's basically how it works. And all the planets, a bunch of planets retrograde up there right now, and that's unusual, having 4 or 5 planets retrograde and 2 more going, or 1 more anyway, going retrograde soon. So, that's a really interesting thing that's happening.
Wow.
And everybody's talking about it, but people are frustrated out there, and they are dealing with things like that, where they can't get anything done, or that's usually the complaint, nothing seems to work, whatever. But you can always redo things, you can always do things anyway, you can plow through. I kind of think if they didn't go retrograde, nobody would have anything to complain about.
Right. And you can, one of the things that you've brought to my life is the ability to accept it, and that simple fact, instead of, this could be the comfort that we learn about from astrology, but just accepting it, you can kind of work through those forces, and when you do have to redo things, you don't stress about it because it's just what's the energy's good for it,
Exactly.
So stick around through this break, Jenny. We'll be right back to talk about astrology, and you are a galaxy. This is Rabbi Jenny. Hang on.
Okay.
The presidential candidates are talking about it. The talk show hosts are talking about it. It's all over the news. Maybe it's time you should start talking about it. Maybe it's time for you to get help. If you or someone you love is suffering from a heroin addiction, Epiphany Resources has the solution for you. Heroin addiction manifests in an apathy and a disinterest in life. At Epiphany Resources, Rabbi Jenny and her acclaimed clinical team reignite and empower their clients to embrace life for a bright future in recovery. With groundbreaking creative and spiritual modalities combined with narrative reframing and cognitive behavioral therapy, the team at Epiphany Resources neutralize the cravings for heroin and reawaken one's desire for joy and life. It's time to talk about it. It's time to heal. It's time to recover from heroin addiction. Contact Epiphany Resources at www.etcfl.com or call 561-777-0241. Epiphany Resources. It's time to begin. The after-school hours between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. are when millions of children go home alone or are without adult supervision. Statistics have shown that during this time, gang involvement, teenage pregnancy, and drug use begins. For the past 15 years, For the Children, Inc., a place where children come first, has been a pioneer in providing quality after-school programming for underprivileged youth aged 5 to 18 in Palm Beach County. Our children are our future. To ensure their success, they must have equal access to quality educational, personal growth, and leadership tools. For the Children, Inc. provides them all. Donate now to For the Children, Inc. at www.forthechildrenfirst.org.
This public service announcement for the Children, Inc. was brought to you by the law offices of Manjula Caladini, Esquire, concentrating in immigration law. www.immigrationassociates.net.
Hi, it's Rabbi Jenny from The Rabbi Jenny Show. Are you planning a wedding, baby naming, or bar bat mitzvah? Have you recently adopted a pet, bought a new home, or opened a new business? Do you have an important anniversary coming up and would like to renew your vows? Have you recently lost a loved one and need some compassion and care through this process? These are some of the many life events that touch our lives. It is at these moments that we need a special person for guidance and compassion and care to officiate and guide us through those moments. Call me, Rabbi Jenny, at 561-346-8207 to guide you and officiate these life events. 561-346-8207. Rabbi Jenny, for personal compassion and care and loving guidance for the important events of your life.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny. Welcome back. We're online with Ginny Stern, a renowned astrologer, friend of mine and mentor and teacher. Hey, Jenny.
Hey there.
Okay, I have a question for you. Have you seen any trend in the people interested in astrology lately, or have you noticed anything with that? I mean, I've noticed in the younger generation they're more open-minded, but have you noticed anything?
Well, it's a cycle. I've gone through cycles where it's been astrology with everything, and then after a while it seemed to die down when people weren't as interested. So it's just one of those things that, it comes from time to time, and I think it depends what's going on in the world and things like that also. The thing that astrology is really good for is if I have an accurate birth time, I'm very good at timing things.
Yes.
So I like to see when your opportunities are coming up, things of that nature. And conversely, when you shouldn't do something, if it's something not the right time, then you shouldn't do it. So, that's the kind of thing that it's really, really good for. I mean, it's just a way of where you can understand the people in your life better. Mm-hmm. For instance, your boss or your significant other, or specifically your children.
Yes.
I mean, you can't expect. For instance, you can't expect an Aries to behave like a Taurus, for instance. I mean, they all have different qualities. If I had ever been that way with my kids, I would have been going crazy because I did have an Aries and a Taurus. So the Taurus would be washing the dishes, and then he would take forever, slow, doing the job, perfect job, everything done. The Aries, you had to put everything back in because he was just, 1, 2, 3, and he was out of there.
Wow.
So it's all different in their reactions. It was different in every way. Mm. So it was so wonderful privilege for me to have these two kids that I was able to guide, not according to what I wanted for them.
Right.
But I tried to guide them according to what I saw in their charts as their own nature.
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting to see how that's evolved, because they're men now, and they have, one of them has children,
Yeah.
So, and I see that. I wanted them to understand their own part as a co-creator of their life with God.
Yes. Well, and that's what we're talking about. I mean, this is one piece of the puzzle that, for me, the greatest thing I get from you, Ginny, is acceptance. And I keep bringing that up. But I think that when you accept certain things about people, you can move forward. You're no longer fighting. You're no longer fighting with them or their life or anything else or the planet, what's going on with the planet. And you can accept and move forward thoughtfully with wisdom,
well,
I guess.
That's true. And also acceptance from the point of view of since I've been an astrologer, I'm not even a little bit judgmental anymore.
Wow.
I mean, I can see everybody's coming from someplace else. So, it's freeing. It's extremely freeing when you do it that way. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's the perspective. I think that pulling up to a new perspective for people, pulling a little further back. Is,
and also when you say about people believing, it's not a religion, so it's not anything you believe in. It's just a tool that can help understand yourself, deal better with people. It has no end. As a matter of fact, there are different specialties in astrology, and there are medical astrologers which work with physicians, actually, and because each sign and each planet rules a part of the body. So that's another way. Now, I don't do medical astrology. Everyone expected me to because of my background in pharmaceuticals and everything, but I don't do it that way, but anyway, that's just... So did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. And
Gemini digress.
Well, we can get lost in our head. I want to ask you just a couple specific questions and kind of relate it to Jewish mysticism and where the planets are. One of the most sacred centers is Chesed, which is, forgiveness and that unconditional godly love of Chesed. And the planet that's known to associate with that is Jupiter. And is there any way you could connect those for the listeners, or explain what is Jupiter? What is that planet? It's very big.
The ancients called it the Great Benefic, meaning that it was the good luck planet. Let's say, if there's such a thing as luck. But so that's how they framed it. Whereas Saturn is a planet that is more of limitations and get the job done. Jupiter is freeing. It has to do with all sorts of things, like it certainly has to do with philosophy and philosophies of life and thinking positively and things like that. Well, if you're thinking positively, your life is working for you. If you're thinking negatively, you're creating a negative situation. It's simple, but it's simple. Sounds simple, but forgiveness is a Jupiter thing because it frees you from, because when you don't forgive, that's like an addiction too. I mean, that's like got a hold of you. In other words, that's got, cages you in a sense, because if you don't forgive, you're eventually going to get sick or whatever, because that eats away at you, that sort of energy. So Jupiter is a planet that is expansive, generous, that kind of thing.
And it's big. It's big.
It's the biggest planet.
It's big,
so there's the expansion and growth. Jupiter's growth.
Well, they call that sacred center, Ginny. They call that sacred center Gedula for great or big in size. Right. So I love looking at the correlations. The other thing I wanted to ask you about.
In fact, there's a correlation between all those things, even all religions.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. Everything is really saying the same thing. They just put their own little unique twist on it.
Okay, I have another. I have another quick question.
What is the truth? The truth is not the same for everybody. So we are on a quest to find, our truth.
Yes.
And that is Jupiter, a function of Jupiter.
Wonderful.
So, if a person has we call a prominent Jupiter in their chart, that would mean Jupiter would be right next to their sun or moon or on their ascendant or something like that, then that person has that optimistic attitude. They're everybody's cheerleader. They're always helping everybody else. That kind of thing. So that, and because of that, they never want for anything. And that's why people will say to me, I'm so lucky, I have to worry about money. And that's because I always say to them, that's because you're generous. Because what goes around comes around, and what you put out is what's coming back to you. And you can see that with the planets, but you can see it with religion, and different things like that, too. I mean, you put out, like I always say to people, worry is the enemy.
Yes.
Because when you're worried about something, a thought's going out into the universe every day. So it's just like you're praying for the exact thing you don't want to have happen. But you can't say to a worrier, don't worry, if it's part of their nature. So you have to get them to work with that in a different way. So I usually ask them to just watch what they're thinking, especially if they're going through a change or something like that. Watch what you're thinking, observe yourself like as if you were the witness. Don't beat yourself up over it, but if you worry about something, just say, cancel that. It prevents it. It's very simplistic. It sounds ridiculous, but it prevents that thought from connecting with anything out in the universe. Not that you would be worrying about something that would directly cause it to happen necessarily. It might. But chances are it wouldn't. But if it was on the brink of this or that, and your worry is going out there constantly, you are putting energy into that happening rather than into it not happening. Better yet would be to say the exact opposite thing in a form of an affirmation, as if it were already true. Okay? Be like, oh, I have plenty of money. I have everything I need. I have a wonderful job. I love my job. My marriage is terrific. Whatever it is, because if you say I have a wonderful job and it's not a wonderful job, then the wonderful job can come your way.
Right. And you can also maybe shift your perspective, correct?
Yes,
of the job you have, which is,
the same thing with fears. And see, another thing, I object very much. When my children were in school, a lot of times they would say to me, teachers would say, your child daydreams. And I'm like, well, I think that's really good. Daydreaming, that's how you create everything. How else do you, if you don't have a dream? So, of course, they all thought I was crazy at school, but that's how I brought my kids up. And meanwhile, my sons are living their dream.
That's the way to go.
I really don't think it's a bad thing. I think I tell people, you want something, visualize it. Just imagine, let yourself tell a story about it or visualize a story about it. Because if that may not make it happen, but if it's about to happen, or maybe yes, maybe no, just like the worry on the negative side, this can push it over the edge in the positive side.
Jenny, how do our listeners get in touch with you to get a reading from you? How do they get in touch with you?
Okay, obviously, my phone number is here in Florida, 386-259-4323.
Okay.
Okay, it's one number. And then, of course, at the Casadega Hotel, I do readings there if somebody wants it in person. This number that I gave you would be for telephone readings.
Right.
And I've been at the Casadega Hotel for about 4 years, meeting the most interesting people. It's been wonderful. I thought I was retired, but of course. And so for the past 25 years, most of my readings have been on the phone because I like to be free to, I lived in New Mexico for 6 years. I was different places.
Well, I love you, Jenny. I love you, Jenny. You're going to have to come on again because you have so much wisdom. Thank you.
Oh, well, whatever. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love you. Jenny Stern at the Casadega Hotel.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jenny. Bye-bye.
So I can teleport you all around my heavenly body. This could be a close encounter.
The after-school hours between 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. are when millions of children go home alone or are without adult supervision. Statistics have shown that during this time, gang involvement, teenage pregnancy, and drug use begins. For the past 15 years, For the Children, Inc., a place where children come first, has been a pioneer in providing quality after-school programming for underprivileged youth aged 5 to 18 in Palm Beach County. Our children are our future. To ensure their success, they must have equal access to quality educational, personal growth, and leadership tools. For the Children, Inc. provides them all. Donate now to For the Children, Inc. at www.forthechildrenfirst.org.
This public service announcement for the Children, Inc. was brought to you by the law offices of Manjula Kaladini, Esquire, concentrating in immigration law. www.immigrationassociates.net.
Hi, it's Rabbi Jenny from The Rabbi Jenny Show. Are you planning a wedding, baby naming, or bar bat mitzvah? Have you recently adopted a pet, bought a new home, or opened a new business? Do you have an important anniversary coming up and would like to renew your vows? Have you recently lost a loved one and need some compassion and care through this process? These are some of the many life events that touch our lives. It is at these moments that we need a special person for guidance and compassion and care to officiate and guide us through those moments. Call me, Rabbi Jenny, at 561-346-8207 to guide you and officiate these life events. 561-346-8207. Rabbi Jenny, for personal compassion and care and loving guidance for the important events of your life. The presidential candidates are talking about it. The talk show hosts are talking about it. It's all over the news. Maybe it's time you should start talking about it. Maybe it's time for you to get help. If you or someone you love is suffering from a heroin addiction, Epiphany Resources has the solution for you. Heroin addiction manifests in an apathy and a disinterest in life. At Epiphany Resources, Rabbi Jenny and her acclaimed clinical team reignite and empower their clients to embrace life for a bright future in recovery. With groundbreaking creative and spiritual modalities combined with narrative reframing and cognitive behavioral therapy, the team at Epiphany Resources neutralize the cravings for heroin and reawaken one's desire for joy and life. It's time to talk about it. It's time to heal. It's time to recover from heroin addiction. Contact Epiphany Resources at www.etcfl.com or call 561-777-0241. Epiphany Resources. It's time to begin.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny. Welcome back. We are talking about being one. We are talking about being galaxies. We are talking about what is in the one is in the whole. We're talking about loving our neighbor as ourselves. We're talking about a lot of things that to give us comfort and acceptance to comfort and acceptance for the world. And I have to tell you that one of the reasons why this is important is because we have to remember our humanity, and we have to remember that the laws are the laws, and that when things occur in our lives, we do have to respond to them in the way everyone else does. One of those things is grief and loss. And today I visited my father's grave, which I lost my father almost 2 years ago. And I have to tell you, I didn't think I was going to visit his grave this morning. And I bring this up on this topic because staying open to the idea that you're human and that you are going to have to grieve and you are going to have to feel and you are going to have to be exactly like everyone else is very, very important. And most of the suffering that we feel as human beings is when we forget that, when we think we're above these laws or above these things that happen to us. So you know, and I what I did is I went and I picked up a stone and I went and laid it on his gravestone and I cried. And I was shocked at my tears, and I was shocked at my humanity, because I often am, because I think I can take over the world. But I realize now I was feeling a lot of physical symptoms, and they were actually my own need to push those feelings down and to push them away. But after the Mother's Day weekend that occurred and seeing my brother and grandchildren and all the people my father doesn't see, I guess I had to grieve like everyone else. And so maybe this message is for you to encourage you to stop and feel your feelings, because they will creep up on you if you don't, because that's the way this thing works. You know, we shed our skin every day, and we're always growing and changing. So we are ready now for the Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge.
Joy, 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 joy. It's Adeline Gobergstein, and it's time for the Rabbi Jenny Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge.
Hi, who's on the air? Hi.
Hi.
Who's on the air?
Hi, my name is Lori.
Hi,
How are
Lori.
ya?
Hi, Lori. You have a question, or you're here for the Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge?
I guess I'm here for that ridiculous whatever challenge.
Joy Jar Challenge. Okay, Lori, you want to name 10 things that you are ridiculously joyful about?
Okay, ridiculously joyful about having health, having my feet to walk, even though I hurt a toe. Having, I think about eyes to see, amazing friends, really good family, food on the table. I get to get out meeting new and exciting people. Just having choices in life. Living in Florida, having the sunshine. How many?
You got 2 more.
Okay, being able to travel and just having a job. Hey, a lot of people don't. So
yeah, this is true. Oh, Lori, that was great. What would you like to promote today on the Rabbi Jenny Show?
Well, actually, I would love to promote. I actually have diagnostic testing companies, and actually, what we do both. One is, let me start with the first one. It's really an exciting way to bring more revenue into an office, working with different types of doctors. It's diagnostic and vascular testing. And this can be in a chiropractic office, it can be cardiologist, and basically it's going to be under the roof of the doctor, so the patients don't have to go anywhere. And you're going to get to see, it's really for people that are going to answer a questionnaire if you smoke, if you have diabetes, and this is really preventative. So
Wonderful.
It's a great way where... Yeah, and the other one is even more exciting. It's really about brain health and memory. And this can be in patients where the machine is going to be in the doctor, and you get to see what the protocol would be if you have dementia, stress, anxiety, insomnia, pain management, depression, head injuries, if you were sports-related. And you have a cap on your head, and you get to see different brain function. It's a brain function test.
That's so cool.
Why we're having memory loss.
We actually do a lot of, addiction. They use a lot of that type of testing in addiction now to look at the cognitive effects, the impairments and stuff. Lori, how do we get in touch with you? How does a doctor get in touch with you if they like to hear about your testing at their office? How do they get in touch with you?
Sure. The best way to get a hold of me, the one company, it's called JMed, JAYMED, and there's 2 numbers, 954-448-2350, or you can call me at Lori at 678-596-5328, and we can let you know which doctors have these machines and how we can start generating business as well as, helping these patients. And it's just such a great idea for all.
That's awesome, Lori. Thank you so much for taking the Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge. You guys can reach Lori at 678-596-5328. Sounds like cool testing for preventative health measures and brain improvement and cognitive improvement. It sounds like that. Thanks, Lori, for calling. Have a ridiculously joyful night.
You too. Have a ridiculously one back. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Lori. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're gonna do the jam, I guess. We'll do
Jam!
jam.
Rabbi Jenny Jam!
Jam. What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. Hey, hey, hey. What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. Hey, hey, hey. Everything I know, everything I grow, it's yours to share, it's yours to show. The web of life, come make me see. What belongs to you belongs to me. The air I breathe, you breathe it too. That's the only way we'll see it through. Becoming one, conscious of each other. Generous sister and generous brother. Feel the beauty balance in your soul. Nothing more missing, together we're whole. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Hey, hey, hey. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Hey, hey, hey. It's a good day on planet Earth. It's a good day on planet Earth. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Hey, hey, hey. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Hey, hey, hey. The beat of my heart, the clap of your hand, the moment you wake when I take a stand. It's all that we are, it's all that I am. Oh, oh, oh. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Hey, hey, hey. It's a good day on planet Earth. It's a good day on planet Earth. Oh, this is Rabbi Jenny. I really like that one. I gotta tell you, that conga beat is just enlightening my soul. So before we go, I just want to remind you about today's topic, that you are a galaxy. Okay, that you are one with the universe, and that the center of the universe is everywhere and within you and without. And I gotta tell you, this is the most important thing that you can learn. And I'm just reminding you that you are ridiculously fabulous, delicious, and fine. And I want you to shine and be the best you can be. This is Rabbi Jenny. Don't forget to pray. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to journal. And don't forget to say thank you and I love you. And thank you and I love you. Thanks, Epiphany Resources. And thanks, Manju Kalanindi. Bye-bye.
You have been listening and lighting up your life with Rabbi Jenny. Join us next week for another session of love, light, and joy as Rabbi Jenny takes life to the next level. Are you ready? Rabbi Jenny says the time is now. The opinion